All right, everybody. It is 6:30, and we will bring this meeting to order.
Use your gavel.
Use my gavel? I did it. Thank you. Relying on Pam knows the annoyed teacher voice instead of the gavel. That's what we're going for. We don't need a stick. All right. So calling this meeting to order, I'm Kat Martinez, the chair, and everyone is here, which is fantastic. And calling this meeting to order, we always start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I didn't ask anyone to do it today, but I would love it if any of the kids here would like to help me. I'll come do it right here. And if any kids want to join me to help lead in the Pledge of Allegiance, and if no one comes up, it won't hurt my feelings, but if they wanted to, it would be so fun. Okay.
And everyone stands up with us. Come on up. We got a volunteer. Hey, what's your name? Wyatt. Wyatt, nice to meet you, Wyatt. All right, we all put our hand on our heart, and we look at the flag right here. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've got some real pros here today. Thank you so much. All right, next up, we're going to approve some minutes, and I think this is the one we had some corrections to. Is that correct, Diane?
Yes, but they've already been taken care of. So, but there were a few corrections, and we're good.
Excellent. Thank you for submitting those. Any other corrections or discussion before a motion?
Did we fill the seat for the capital improvement program where I'm in there, but we don't have the second person in there? Was that even talked about or brought up?
We have not come back to that, so we will need to put it back on a committee of the whole.
Okay.
And there was a neighbor works as well. So we need to put both of those on. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the city council meeting minutes for January 18th.
I second it.
All right, Brooke?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Aye. Thank you, Brooke. And then next up, we start out with our special recognition. What I'm very excited about today, Jennifer, go ahead and present our Employee of the Month, Patty Johnson.
Yeah, come on up. Brett, I'll have Brett come up to you. Brett actually worked with Patty longer than I have.
I work for her.
For whatever. Where is Patty? This is Patty. She's my assistant, and I love her. I don't know what I would have done this my first year as the council director without her, in all honesty. She's been amazing. She's been working for the city council for 6 years. During that time, she's been proficient with her meeting minutes, setting up for council meetings, helping out wherever she is needed. She comes to work every day with a positive outlook and a can-do attitude. She's been instrumental this past year in helping the council office run smoothly. She played an integral part in organizing and planning the holiday party, council retirement reception, and the oath of office. And again, I don't know what I would do without her. She's just really amazing. So I'm going to turn it over to Brett and see if he has anything to add.
I just wanted to say congratulations. Like I always say, these employees, Patty begged to get this, and so we said, okay, we'll give it to you.
You weren't supposed to say.
Yeah, of course, none of you know darn well that's not true. And, you know, as a former council member, I just love Patty. She's awesome. And now part of the administration, it's the same thing. We've kept our connection and our friendship, and it's just been a great thing to be able to bind the council and the administration together. You've done a great part. So from the administration, we think you're awesome, and we love and appreciate you, Patty.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. You're going to have me do that? $50. $50. Are we going to lunch with us? There's that. And then the certificate that we've all signed, and we'll put your name back on that, and it'll be there forevermore. And it's just awesome. This is a wonderful program to recognize our amazing employees. So thanks, Patty, for all you do.
Patty has a speech. I told her she had to cut it down, so I'm going to turn the time over to her.
Speak, speak, speak.
I told her I'm behind the scenes. I don't talk in public. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been so educational. As a Murrayite, probably spent 53 years here in Murray. And I never thought I would be doing something like this, but it's just been great. I love how the council process works. You guys amaze me with all your differences, that you're so respectful to each other. It's great. It's great to see. And then I just hope to get to know you, Gary. Sorry, I spelled your name wrong. And you'll always have my trust and confidence. So thank you.
Patty, you can't leave yet. God. Oh my goodness. I was, how many years has it been? 5?
6.
6?
My
6 years.
anniversary date is the holiday party.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Anyway, I was on the team that decided to hire her, and it was one of the smartest decisions professionally I've ever made. So, Patty, you're wonderful, and thank you so much for being a big part of our backbone.
Sure. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You hold us up.
Thank you, Patty. You are an asset in with everything that you do for the office and for us as council members. Thank you.
Okay.
And always being so bright and cheery. Being so bright and cheery. All right.
Can I go now?
Yes, yes, you can go now, Patty. And go ahead.
Go home. Have a good night.
Patty. We love honoring all of our Employee of the Months. It's always a special part of the meeting, but when it's someone from our office that has to put up with us a little bit more frequently and intently, it's really nice. All right, so the next part of our meeting is citizen comments. Now, this is not for any of the issues that are under public hearings. We'll have a separate time. People can come up and talk about the public hearing items. So if you're here for one of those, just hold off until we get there. But if you would like to speak about something else that's not on the agenda, you can have 3 minutes. You'll step up to the microphone here, tell us your name, your city of residence, and then Jennifer will have a form for you at that time. Would anyone like to speak? Go ahead.
Hi. My name is Lawrence Warman, and as far as my city of residence, it's wherever I happen to be at the moment. And I say that not facetiously, but because I am one of the many, and as I understand it, the number is in the thousands in this state, if not in this valley, who are homeless or partially homeless. And there's no way to clearly define what partially homeless means. Please understand, it just means that we have trouble keeping housing for whatever reason. Go away for a couple weeks and all the faces changed. I get up and speak as often as possible during public comment for city and county council to encourage the cities and the counties to do whatever they can to help deal with homeless issues. I don't believe that homelessness can be solved 100% instantly. Anybody who thinks so hasn't looked at any of the real problems that come with it. It is not just drug use. It is not just mental health issues. It is a number of there are numbers of causes behind it, many of which have nothing to do with drug use or mental health issues, at least not ones that people had before they became homeless anyway. I have spent the better part of the past 4 to 6 weeks at my brother's place because I was sick, not with COVID. I had several illnesses hit me, one after the other after the other. I bring this up not for sympathy, but to bring an issue that has to deal with homeless up before the council and encourage you to encourage other cities and your citizenship within this city and the county and the state level to do something to help with it. There is one thing that is absolutely missing from homeless shelters, and that is a place where those people who are sick, who need time to recover, who can't afford a hospital or just don't need the hospital per se, can go to have bed space for more than a few hours at night. The shelters run from whatever PM, 8, 9, 10 p.m. until 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and then everybody has to leave. And if you're sick and you're in the cold weather, you have nowhere to go. And if you walk into a business or a public space, coughing, hacking up a lung, as you sometimes do when you get sick, you have nowhere to go and they kick you out. There is no medical facility outside of an emergency room or a hospital, which most people cannot afford if they're on the street or anywhere close to it. And a facility would not be difficult to put up to do something to make such a space available for people who are sick. It doesn't need a doctor or a nurse full-time, just a medical assistant at most, somebody who can take temperatures and see to people's needs would be all that was needed. Volunteers could do it. And such a facility wouldn't be needed to be bigger than in your average department store, like an old used Kmart or the Sears downtown. A facility like that would be more than enough, where you could give them individual, at least cubicle type rooms, if nothing else. And they could spend more than a few hours a night where they can actually recover from whatever is going on. This, among other homeless facilities, are things that I would encourage. Housing first should be the objective in helping to deal with homeless situations, regardless of any other facilities that are put up. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. And make sure, did you get a form from Jennifer? You got it. Fabulous. Thank you.
Hi, Council. I apologize that I did not make it right on time for the RDA meeting, and because of that, I'm giving my citizen comment now. And with the fact that an RDA meeting started at 3:30, it was very hard to get away from the office. And yet the RDA meeting is a public meeting. It is a meeting where action is taken place by the board. I'm asking that the council and RDA board consider adjusting the schedule to where the committee of the whole happens prior to the RDA board meeting, because the committee of the whole does not take action. No action is taken during that work meeting. And by doing that, it allows for a more conducive time for the public to be able to attend the RDA meetings. And then as I was during the COVID time, we were able to have the opportunity of observing other city meetings. And I noticed in a couple of the other cities that I observed that they held or had citizen comments at the end of the meeting. And I thought, well, that's a novel idea, because then you get the opportunity, the citizens get the opportunity to share with the council at the time that it was being discussed some of the items that were on the agenda for that meeting. So I'd like to ask that the council consider that for both the RDA meeting and the city council meeting. You know, when there's a public hearing, you first address what's being talked about in the public hearing, whatever is presented, and then it's opened up for citizen comments. So there's a little more education of what is going to be discussed for the citizens to be able to comment about, and then there's more discussion between the council and whoever is presenting the hearing. So it seems to me like there is some value in looking at the idea of having citizen comments when after things have been already shared in the meeting. Like in today's RDA meeting, it would have been really nice. It was a very long meeting, though. It would have been really nice to have been able to allow the citizens to make comments about some of the issues that were brought up. That, well, for one, we didn't even know what the presentation was for the CBD, but and so now we have a whole other month before there could be, in public citizen comments. And so I just think that that's an idea that I'd like to propose the the council consider. Thank you. Oh, Janice Strobel.
Thanks, Janice. Would anyone else like to speak for citizen comment?
Hello. I'm Clark Bullen. I live in District 3, and I watched the RDA meeting on the live stream, and Councilmember Dominguez brought up that growth is coming, and the whole state knows it, the legislature knows it. We have a lot of growth that is coming our way. And we've felt it, right? There's been a lot of developers wanting to do mixed use. I know that the council is doing a workshop on mixed-use zones on Friday to discuss potential other mixed-use zones as the council requested. And we also, in the RDA meeting, discussed a survey for citizen feedback about what's happening downtown. And there was also a lot of feedback that happened at the open house last fall. And so I believe that it would be prudent to consider doing a master plan revision sooner rather than later. Now, those are considered, the timeline for a master plan is looked at to be every 5 to 10 years, and it has been 5 years since the last master plan revision. And so why do it now after 5 years instead of waiting 10 years? Well, I believe a lot is going to change in Murray over the next 5 years. A lot of new development, a lot of mixed use, a lot of growth. The downtown hopefully will be significantly different in 5 years. And I believe waiting to redo our master plan for another 5 years doesn't make a lot of sense when this is when the change is happening in Murray. And so since surveys like the one discussed at the RDA are part of the master plan process, why not encompass that into a master plan revision? I know that master plans cost money, but I believe it was stated that there was a surplus last year in the budget, and so we just so happen to have the money, it would seem, or potentially have the money. And so I'd like to urge the council to think about that and consider doing the master plan revision sooner rather than later, so that we don't find ourselves 5 years down the road and potentially not 5 years in the direction we didn't want to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Clark. Anyone else?
My name is Beverly Krangle. Good evening, Mayor and council members and residents. Is this on? Yes. Okay. It came to my attention that we have both state and federal programs that are well funded, but they're in conflict with each other. We have the highway department trying to get vehicles and trucks from the suburbs and highways to the cities and as fast as possible. And yet we have a whole area, agencies and programs trying to divert traffic away from schools. So we are seeing the essence of this conflict right now on Vine Street, 6100 South. The Safe Routes to School program, the 20 improvements for reducing accidents and fatalities, the Vision Zero program, on and on and on. they're trying to fix the problems that are being created by the prior 10, 20, 50 years of trying to get people faster from the outlying areas to the city structures or whatever, or getting them through cities and through states. So we've got this big conflict. We've got all these tax dollars creating a problem. Then we've got a huge number of tax dollars trying to solve the problems created by all the funds going for faster traffic and wider roads. And with the master plan that Clark mentioned, it's extremely important that we look at traffic flow. We can't continue to just widen. And it took me a while to think about that with the Little Cottonwood Canyon project too. So do we just keep chopping away the mountains? I don't think that's probably in the best interest of our environment, to continue to just create more and more parking lots and wider streets. But we can work on an application with smaller vehicles during off hours and more buses, where people know that it can depend on getting from one place to another, and we don't have to keep widening streets. I would like to say the glass is half full if we can apply creative ideas to keep the children from 3 schools that will be impacted by this Vine Street widening project, with no safety measures that have been taken along with this widening project. We only have 4 crosswalks between Highland Drive and 200 East. Yet there are 3 schools of elementary and some junior high and Cottonwood High that will all be and Murray, all these schools will be impacted by this faster traffic with very few measures.
That is time, Ms. Kringle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for citizen comment? Okay. Thank you for everyone who spoke. We do appreciate you coming and speaking. And I know 3 minutes can be hard to stick to, so we appreciate it. Be tricky. All right, next up we have the consent agenda, and we have a number of these. Mayor, are you presenting all of these? Is that, all right, would you like me to introduce them all in one chunk and then you take it? Does that sound good? Okay. So, and I think that's a lot of the fabulous people we have here today. We're going to consider confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Andrea Washburn to the Public Safety Advisory Board for a term from February 1st, 2022 to January 31st, 2025. Then we're going to consider confirmation of the mayor. Yeah.
I'm just going to let you do that. And will you do me a favor? And if they're here, ask them to stand.
Yes. Is Andrea here? Okay, Andrea's not here. Okay, next up was Wayne Manu to Public Safety Advisory Board. Is Wayne here? No, Manu, I apologize. Thank you. And then we have considering the confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Marin Patterson. Is Marin here? All right, we still think you're fabulous if you're not here. And that's for the Planning Commission for a term of January 15th, 2022 to January 15th, 2025. And then we're going to consider a confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Lisa Milkovich to the Planning Commission. Is she here? There she is. Hi, Lisa. And then we'll consider the confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Andy Holka to the MCCD Review Committee. Is he here? Hello. Thanks for being here. And that's for a term January 15th, 2022 to January 15th, 2025. And then we'll consider a confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Kirsten Davis to the MCCD Review Committee. Hi, Kirsten. Thanks for being here. And that is for the term January 15th, 2022 to January 15th, 2025. Then we'll consider the confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Darren Rasmussen, who I saw, to Parks and Rec. Hey, Darren. Thanks for being here. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a term of January 2022 to January 2025. Then we've got mayor's reappointment of Peter Klinge. I think I saw. Hi, Peter. to the Arts Advisory Board for a term of January 2022 to January 2025. And then consider confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Christy Anderson. Is Christy here? Let's see, to the Arts Advisory Board for a term of January 2022 to January 2025. And then consider confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Matt Jacobson. Is Matt here? Hi, Matt. Thanks for being here. And that's the Arts Advisory Board for a term from January 2022 to January 2025. Then consider a confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Michael Richards. Is Michael here? That's all right. To the Planning Commission for a term of January 15th, 2022, January 15th, 2025. And finally, consider confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Christine Clark. Do we have Christine Clark? And that is to the Murray Senior Recreation Center Advisory Board for term February 2022 to January 2025. Before I pass this over to Mayor completely, everyone who just stood up, stand up so we can thank you for serving your community. Thank you, and I'll officially turn it over to you now, sir.
Thanks, Kat. I'll just reiterate what Kat said. Thank you so much for your service. We couldn't do it without you. I mean, I had the opportunity with some of the administration to interview you, and it just was impressive. Your resumes, which they all received and were very impressed with. I just want to say thank you for all that you do for our city, because we would not be who we are or what we are today if it wasn't for your service. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor, and to anyone who might be watching online, we appreciate you so much. I would take one motion for all.
Okay, so I will make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second it.
Brooke?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Brooke. And thank you all again. And if you want to stay for the whole meeting, we'd love to have you. If you'd like to head out and celebrate your service, you can. We appreciate you so much. We'll give you a second before heading to the public hearing.
Mayor, you've been busy.
That was a lot. I don't think I've ever seen such a long list.
Wow. Good job.
Yes. And those kids were so good, parents. They were awesome. I know, right? Head out. All right. As people make their way out, we will turn to public hearings. And we will first be considering an ordinance relating to land use, amending the zoning map for the property located at 1079 East Vine Street, Murray City, Utah. We're looking at A1, that's agricultural zoning district, to R18, which is a low density single family. And we'll turn to Jared Hall and Susan Nixon presenting. Hello, team.
We're almost there.
We're almost there.
No, you're presenting.
Okay.
No, you're just fine. We love waiting. We're great at that.
We're good at that. Oh, I'm trying. Musical chairs here.
Pay no attention to that.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, well, here we are, February 15th. Good to know. This, can you hear me? The first item is for a zone map amendment from Nathan Shepik and Randy Krantz from A1 to R18 at 1079 East Vine. The property's on the north side of Vine, as you can see highlighted in the blue. A lot of green up that way because it's all agricultural. It's been agricultural for years. The map shows the green area is currently A1. The yellow, pale yellow, is R18. So the applicant is applied to change from the zoning from A1 to R18, similar to the property on the left. Our general plan and future land use call for this area to go to what we call low-density residential. That's all in the pale yellow color there. And just a couple of photo there of the existing site. So the Planning Commission reviewed this on July 15th and held a public hearing We sent out notices to the surrounding residents within 300 feet. We did not receive any comments or concerns from them. The Planning Commission, after reviewing it, voted on a 5-0 vote to send a positive recommendation to the City Council. And our findings for this are based a lot on our general plan, future land use, and it is consistent with both the 2017 general plan, our future land use map. It does allow for flexibility. I'm kind of paraphrasing all these different findings, but it does allow for flexibility and implementation with our goals and policies. It is supported to go from A1 to R18 by both plans, future land use map and the general plan. And again, the Planning Commission reviewed it on July 15th to send a positive recommendation to change the zoning from A1 agricultural to R18 residential single family. And the property is just about 8/10 of an acre. I neglected to say that. There are some differences on setbacks, and I'm happy to review those if you're interested, but that's basically the application in a nutshell.
What are those differences?
The front setback is, A1 is 30, R18 is 25. The back is also similar, 25. Height is a little bit of difference. The A1 you can potentially go up to 40 feet, where the R18 is 35. And then the setbacks are for the A1 are 10 on each side with the total, and then the R18 is 8 as a minimum. So the A1 has a little bit larger setbacks.
Susan, so looking at this map, so on my right side, the yellow house, the long one, that's almost an acre, right? 0.89.
Are you talking the one that's highlighted? It's in yellow.
I'm kind of confused about this.
So the one that we're talking about tonight is the one that's shown in the blue that Jared's got the cursor over.
Right. Okay. And so then the one in the yellow
has already been changed from A1 to R18. That was changed several years ago.
So where would the the one in the blue is going to be cut in half?
No.
I don't know why I'm having a hard time with this.
The property in blue, highlighted in blue that's in green, currently is A1. The property to the left of it in the pale yellow has been changed from A1 to R18. The intent of this zone change is to potentially allow the property owner to subdivide the property in half if they want. But in order to do that, the zoning has to change first. So what you're looking at highlighted in blue is currently A1. It's about 8/10 of an acre.
And is that what happened to the one next to it as well?
Exactly.
It was rezoned and then subdivided in half?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
And so they want to have that subdivided, in the blue.
Yes, that gives them the ability to subdivide, yes.
To sell it to their neighbor or something.
Or something, yeah. Sell it to the neighbor or possibly subdivide it into a flag lot. But that's, not part of this application.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So a flag lot then to the right? To the left?
To the left, yes. Yes, that happened several years ago.
From my perspective.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's kind of what I was confused about.
It gives them the ability to potentially subdivide
turn that into a flag lot.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
But we're just looking at A1 to R18 tonight.
Yes,
that's all we're looking at.
That's all you're considering now. Okay. And any subdividing or splitting of the property would be a separate application.
I have a question about after it changes from R18 or A1 to R18, who decides on the sublot? Is that the Planning Commission?
Well, the applicant would have to make application.
Correct.
The property owner would have to make application for a subdivision, whether that's a flag lot or whatever they could do, which more than likely would just be a flag lot. But then that was reviewed by the Planning Commission. Yes.
And would it circle back to the council?
Correct. You would not. You would not see
clarifying that.
Yeah. thank you. That's, I mean, I recognize that we are just looking at the zone change, but it's my district, and so I wanted to know what.
Yeah, zone changes are legislative, which obviously is the city council, and any subdivision or subdividing of property is the land use
would be
authority, the planning commission.
Planning commission. Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had such a hard time configuring that in my brain.
Any other questions?
I did.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Is that, do they want to, is that?
Yes.
Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, as of right now, the intent is to let the neighbor to the east wants to purchase the back half and just add it to his property. There's no plan at this time to do any kind of subdivision, whatever. He's just trying to get some more ground. And
okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
and then
so to the east.
My name is Randy Krantz. I'm representing Nate Shepik and the current owner Andrew Maxfield. And currently as A1, it's existing non-conforming because it's not an acre.
Right.
And so this would actually bring it in conforming, and it's what the master plan shows for that area. And then I'm confused as to the map because all these other green ones behind and to the other side, those are R18 as well.
Right.
They're not A1. So the only properties that are A1 are those right there.
Right.
Those four. The subdivision behind is A1?
Yes. It is?
Because it shows on the map that the city is R18, but
That's for their future land use.
yeah, and there's no acre lots there.
No. There's only.
All right, we're going to open up to public comment in just a second, but it sounds like we've got lots of information.
I don't know if there's any questions or.
Any questions for the applicant?
No.
Okay. Then I'll open up to.
Well, before you do that, can we have a point of clarification from Susan and Jared?
Yeah.
Are they R1A? Are they A1?
No, this map is correct. Randy is correct in the fact that most of these properties are not 1 acre. They are less than an acre, and so they are non-conforming to the size. But they are, this map is correct. It's all the green is A1. When this area was annexed in from the county back in the early 2000s, we tried to match up the closest zoning based on the uses that existed at the time, and all these areas, this area was zoned agricultural, a county zoning was agricultural, so we took it in and tried to match up the closest, which was agricultural too, but again, all those properties were less than an acre, so they would be what we call non-conforming as far as to the size. But this map is correct, yes.
Thank you. Okay. All right, if there are no other questions from the council, I will open up the public hearing for public comments, which you can come up to the mic and speak for 3 minutes, and Jennifer will be timing you so you can keep an eye on her over there, but I'll jump in if I have to, but, and they need to fill out a form as well after they speak. So after you speak, she'll have a form for you, but just say your name and your city and
Yeah, Dave Gudgel, and sorry about the voice. I've been dealing a head cold for forever, and it makes me sound really funny. So we live right directly behind this property, and I apologize to the Planning Commission for not coming to that meeting. We got the notification of that meeting while we were out of the country, and when we got back in the country, the meeting had already happened. So we were kind of late to that party. But the only concern that we had as neighbors is what would they do with it, which it sounds like we addressed that already. It is a full acre. The difference between these two properties is that the one in yellow has a house on the back side already, and it's the front half acre basically that is open, and they haven't developed it yet, where this one has a house on the front acre or the front half, and it's the back that's open. And so our biggest concern was if they do develop, what is that going to do to us and our other neighbors around us having more houses? I'm not a big fan of having the cookie cutter houses right on the other side of my my fence, right, with windows and everything else. So the fact that it's this other neighbors to the east that are not looking to build, it sounds like, as neighbors, we would have no problem with that. They're actually a fun family that likes to have parties out there, but it's kind of fun to sit out in the back and listen to their music. So we have no problem with that. We just wish we'd get invited sometimes, but other than that. Anyway, that's the end of my comments. I'll sing and dance for the other minute and a half. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna do it.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Okay. Well, if there's no one else who wants to speak on that, I'll close the public hearing for this. And any other questions or discussions on the issue?
I just want another point of clarification. Can you explain a little bit what the classification is for R18 and what are some of the uses for R18? So that way the neighbors in the neighborhood can understand
Great question. So R18 is residential single family, meaning one dwelling per lot, and the lot has a minimum size of 8,000 square feet. So this property is A1 again. It's 0.8 of an acre, so just under 40,000 square feet. But any subdivision of property, again, would require the zone change. And the R18 is residential low density. It's what most of Murray's residential areas are. That's the majority is R18. Does that clarify what you're...
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to just reiterate your concern. You wouldn't be able to have apartment dwelling in your backyard because of the zone change. So just to understand that a little bit better. But you could later come back and ask for it.
Well, but it seems even with the rezoning that they could, if it's one house per 8,000 square feet, that's 5 homes that can go on that one lot. So if it is for the person to the east and they are almost on an acre, you're talking potentially, you know, whatever the math is, that's going to be 15 homes or 10 homes right there. So that's, I think, what the concern they're voicing right now.
Actually, if I can explain a little bit on that, just because the R18 has 8,000 square foot minimum lot size does not necessarily mean just do the math. I mean, do the math and it says, yeah, 4 or 5 units or dwellings. However, it's not quite that simple because anything beyond one additional home at the back, which is what we call a flag lot, would require a public right-of-way, public road with improvements, which has a 49-foot right-of-way, which is going to eat up the majority of the property. So best case scenario, probably a flag lot. It's really all they could do. Any other questions?
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great questions. Anything else? All right. If there's no further discussion, if anyone wants to make a motion.
I will make a motion on relating to the land use amends the zoning map for the property located at 1079 East Vine Street, Murray City, Utah, from A1 Agriculture Zoning District to R18 Low Density Single Family.
I'll second.
All right. Brooke?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Passes. All right. Next up, we have another public hearing. Consider an ordinance amending section 17.112.020 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to including twin homes as permitted use in R2.10 zone. And Jared and Susan. Susan.
You get me again.
I'm so glad.
Hey, thanks. Well, okay, so this is a land use text amendment to chapter 17.112, which is the R210 zone. So we are amending the code, just to clarify, this is just to amend the code, the text, in other words. So we're not looking at any specific property for this application. The applicant, J&G Investments, aka Jonathan Rudd, made the application to amend our R210 zone to allow a land use number 1112, which is twin homes. Currently, the R210 zone only allows duplexes. The bottom line for this application is it will allow for home owner-occupied units as opposed to rental units. Duplexes, rental, twin homes, owner occupied, individually owned. And I can explain that in a little more detail in just a second. So the intent of this application is to allow that as a permitted use, twin homes as a permitted use in the R210 zone. I'll give you a little history. This zone, the R210, was adopted back in 2007, shortly after a lot of those east side properties were annexed into Murray. And with the intent that we kind of thought actually this would take off and be a lot more requested zone. As of to date, there is exactly one property in Murray that's R210, and that is up on Jeremy Drive. That actually, we instigated this original zone. However, over the years, we have discovered that we did not include twin homes in the R210. So what's the difference, basically? On the left-hand side is a diagram of a duplex. The right-hand side is a twin home. Bottom line difference is a duplex is owned by one person and is a rental. The twin homes are individually owned, and you own the residence plus the property underneath it. So the proposal for Chapter 17.112.020 is to allow twin homes as a permitted use. You can see that number 1121 is two-family dwellings or a duplex. Those are currently allowed as a permitted use. This application would be for land use number 1112 twin homes, which are single-family dwelling attached homes. Twin homes shall meet the following yard and area foot lot minimum of 10,000 square feet, 5,000 per unit. So the minimum for, I'll go back to this, for the lot on that diagram on the right, the parcel, yes, I can't see that, can you? There, okay. The parcel itself would be 10,000 square feet, but each side, each individually owned side is 5. Okay. All right, so 5,000 per square feet per dwelling. It would have to have a 40-foot minimum frontage on a public street. Each dwelling would have to have, each parcel would have to have a 40-foot frontage, meaning abutting a public road. And each individual twin home would have at least 20 feet of that 40 feet. The setbacks would be the same as what's currently allowed in the R210 with the change, and I'll go to this right here. This tells it a little better. The difference in the setbacks, obviously, for a twin home, you'd have a common wall or common property line, so obviously that would be 0. And then the other side of the yard, other side yard would be a minimum of 8. And it would have the same setbacks as really what the R18 has, 25 front and rear. The real reason, the only difference is this now allows for owner-occupied, period. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on January 6th, and we sent out notices to affected entities, and the Planning Commission reviewed it and voted 6-0 to forward a positive recommendation to the City Council. And again, here the findings are, it is consistent with the general plan, and the general plan allows for flexibility in our policies and goals. It's consistent with Title 17, which is the land use or zoning code, and consistent with the general plan. This allows for a more additional variety, additional housing type that we do not have. So, and I think we all know the rising costs of housing are the highest they've ever been. This would be another way of allowing more affordable housing units because you're sharing the property basically, but you own them individually. So this is long overdue, to be honest. So the Planning Commission met again on January 6th, reviewed this, recommended positively for the council to adopt this change to allow twin homes as a permitted use in our section 17.112, which is the R210 zone. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead.
Susan, I'm wondering, and this isn't exactly what you've just presented, but I'm curious about the common wall. Is it different for one than the other? Is the requirement
Duplex,
different
yes,
for?
Absolutely, it is, absolutely. And I know a lot of people may not be aware of that, but yes, it is for zoning wise. And building code, absolutely different. Yes, they have to be built differently than a twin home has to be built differently than a duplex.
When you say that, what do you mean? Differently?
Fire rated walls, individually, electrical has to be separated completely. They basically have to serve totally independent of each other, even though there's a shared common wall.
For a twin home?
Yeah, for a twin home.
And that's not required of?
It's a little different, right. It's I don't want to say less, but it is less. it is less. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Less requirements for building codes, yes. So, and that's just for, individual protection, firewalls, safety, because you own them and they're two separate owners, so they have a huge investment, I guess. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Which I was just going to say, this is an investment.
Yes.
This is like this is their home, and they're putting their money into an investment. So when they're ready to sell, if I want to buy one, I can sell my home and invest my money into a twin home instead of other, like a duplex or whatever.
Right.
So I see this as a win-win for those that want to invest their money and make equity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And these have actually become more popular in recent years. We've had a couple of them in the city developed recently. I think I've mentioned this before, the one on Winchester Street and 525 East. New development by Reynolds Construction that is a perfect example of this. And they are becoming more popular all the time because they're a little more affordable than just a single family home. Yeah.
I think what you said was spot on, that it's overdue is adding variety to our code. If there aren't any other questions, go ahead, Rosalba.
I have two questions. One of them is, do we have anyone looking to apply for this? Is there somebody jumping at the bit?
We do. Actually, the applicant, J&G Investments, applied for this, and next month you will see, well, if this is approved tonight, then they have an application in the process for a zone change to R210 to develop exactly this type of a housing.
And then I guess this is more of a statement than anything, but I hope they are truly affordable and they stay affordable.
Yeah. What's the definition?
I mean, it is.
Talk to the appliance people and.
Yeah, we just did. We were going to bring that application later, so it doesn't confuse. It makes things
not for
simpler
today.
to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is a public hearing, so we will open the public hearing part where we can take comments from the public. Again, 3 minutes. You'll state your name, if you're a resident of Murray, and then watch Jennifer for the time. Would anyone like to speak at this time? Let's get you a mirror, or not a mirror. This is a microphone.
I look at a mirror all the time. I'm good.
It starts with an M, and I just go ahead.
So it seems to me that this is an existing zone, and there are already properties zoned this way. Just one. Oh, okay. So for the most part, people would have to apply for a new zone, and it's not okay. Then that already answers my question. Thank you.
Thanks for coming up, and I apologize for making it weird, but
he's got a good projecting voice. Almost didn't need that microphone, you know?
Oh man, would anyone else like to come up? And I promise to not make it weird. Okay. So I meant to ask because it is a change to our code and not. So I didn't think there was an applicant for this one, but there is. Okay, applicant, would you like to come up? Sorry, I thought the type of change was applicant free. I don't know. Sorry. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Council. My name is Darren Mansell, and I represent J&G Investments on this. Our intent, the purpose of this is to try and make it more affordable. That's the whole purpose. These are beautiful, yet we're trying to make them affordable, and the only way to do that is through a zone change like this. And so that's our intent, that's our hope, that's our desire. Yet they would still have a yard, still works as a functioning home. To answer your other question, the thickness between the walls is actually pretty substantial in terms of a double sheetrock and insulated soundboard, no penetrations between them, so that they're perfectly separate from one another. There's no penetrations, gas lines, vents, any of that. It's totally separate, so they do act totally independent of each other. And that's our intent here. It'll be a beautiful product at the end of the day if we can get your blessing on it and try and keep it as affordable as possible. Any questions?
Thank you.
I have a question. Will there be a fence in the back so the properties are separate? Are you going to do like a fencing of some kind?
Yes, ma'am. Around the entire project plus their individual yards.
Right. So I wouldn't be seeing my neighbor, or they be seeing my...
Not unless they want to.
Like if my daughter and I want... Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question for the team. So the Winchester Street is twin homes already. So what zone is that under?
I was hoping I'd get by without answering that question because it's a little complicated at this point. But the project that I was referring to actually is in our R&B zone, which is different. But it does allow for twin homes. So it's a different zone, yes. And we actually amended that about a year ago also for that. So that's on R&B, but it does allow for twin homes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And the public hearing is still open if anyone from the public would like to come and speak. I do apologize for skipping over the applicant. Always feel free to interrupt me and staff and point me in the right direction if necessary. All right, I don't see anyone. Oh. You didn't use your full 3 minutes, so I feel very comfortable giving you more time.
Well, you had a mirror up here, so.
It was distracting.
So what's the difference between the R and B zone? I guess is my question. Like, why not just allow people to apply for that zone? Why have a whole other zone for it? I guess would be my question.
I'm just going to take that real quick because it's a great question, and our lives are very complicated in planning. We're trying to suck you all into that vortex tonight.
Love it.
So the residential neighborhood business is the R&B, and we were approached for that Winchester Street property to make this same text amendment, the same kind of amendment, and allow twin homes there too, for the same purpose, to allow something different than a duplex, something that's not just one building with two parts that can be rented out separately but only owned together. And the R&B zone allowed duplexes too. It's a buffer zone for light duty commercial properties to buffer residential areas from a high traffic street. So it has some residential allowances as well. One of them was duplexes, and we were approached saying, why not twin homes? Why do you guys restrict it to duplexes? We said, that's a great question. Why not twin homes if we're going to do the residential part of the buffering instead? So we allowed the twin homes. And we thought at the time, this is probably a good idea for lots of other zones too, when we haven't used these twin homes. And we'll probably need to revisit this again. And then we get busy with other things and get asked to revisit it again on the R210. And I'm standing here tonight to tell you we'll probably revisit it again, as these land uses, as it's a real easy way to do attached units that are a little bit cheaper but a lot more compatible with the things around them in terms of density and style and scale. So that's the real answer, is that the R210 zone won't be as applicable or as appropriate a zone in all the areas that R210 would be. Did I say the right one first? R&B will be in a different area. We'd want to apply that along corridors. But the R210, you'd want to use as kind of a transition within neighborhoods, maybe. So I hope that answers.
That was great information.
So whereas the R&B, it's more of a conditional or an added use, right? Yeah. Versus just the zone.
It's just one of the residential uses allowed there.
Right.
And the R210 doesn't have any commercial allowances in it. It's just a sort of a step forward residential zone.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone, so I will officially close the public hearing portion of this item. And if anyone has any more discussion, otherwise I'd take a motion.
I'll make a motion to consider an ordinance amending section 17.112.020 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to including twin homes as a permitted use in the R2.10 zone.
I will second that motion.
Do we need the official word, or are we okay? So you do need to say approve instead of consider.
To approve. Do you want me to restate
You're good
it?
if you just say approve.
Okay.
Right? We got it.
Sorry.
And then we have our
I
second.
messed up on the first
I
one,
take
Brett.
back my second.
You took a stab. You did great. You did great. All right.
Gary, you did a great job. I will second that.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Okay. And we have a final public hearing. This is to consider an ordinance amending section 13.32.060 of the Murray City Municipal Code to increase the sewer service charge and to enact a Central Valley water reclamation fee. And we have Danny Astle presenting.
All right, Danny. Okay, I think we're ready. Is this on? Is it now? Okay. All right. Thank you for seeing us this evening. So, with myself, I've got Ben Ford, our wastewater superintendent, as well as we coerced our consultant to be here with us in case there's questions that come up that he needs to answer for us, and then Brenda will jump in case she needs to answer questions. So, we're not going to go through the whole presentation, which we did in the committee of the whole. I've kind of streamlined it to talk about specifics of why we're doing this, and so we'll just jump right into that. So, Murray City is a participating member of the Central Valley Wastewater Reclamation Facility. We have been since the early 70s. In 1978, most of the facilities, or most of the entities, and there's 7 entities, and we're one of those 7 owners or entities that go to the Central Valley. And if you think about why it's called Central Valley, it's pretty much the center of the valley. It goes from the mountains on the east to the mountains on the west, and so there's a lot of ground that Central Valley covers. The wastewater goes to them. We want to talk about a little bit about what's happening at the treatment plant. So there's something that's called technology-based phosphorus effluent limitations, and that became a term that was very emerging and new to a lot of the country, new to the state of Utah. And so as we moved forward, the state of Utah decided to start adding the requirements into treatment plants, into their permits. So in 2015, the Division of Water Quality added that to Central Valley's permit, their discharge permit. So Central Valley discharges the water that goes through the treatment plant into Mill Creek, and then about, maybe 500 yards to the west, it enters the Jordan River. So we have water quality standards of both of those. The Mill Creek is considered a cold water fishery. The Jordan is a warm water.
The regulations for those discharge standards were placed in the permit, and we were asked to be able to meet those standards by permit in 2020. And of course, we said there's no way, because the treatment plant at the time, even as effective as it was and is still, could not meet those standards, the new phosphorus standards. So Central Valley asked for a variance so that they could take the time to investigate the best possible changes to the plant, most cost effective, and as it turned out, a lot of the plant could be reused and repurposed, but there was a lot of things that needed to change. So going forward, in April of 2017, the variance was granted, and we were given till January 1st of 2025 to comply. So that put us down on a path. At the time, the estimates were about $250 million, and that was actually not a bad estimate until something called COVID happened. And then things started to change, and it changed so drastically in a short period of time. It's been hard to keep up with. So those estimates now are up to $370 million. Going forward with that, so what we're proposing, what we have given to you tonight and shared with you earlier, this kind of graph that shows what the rates will become. So currently, our rates, our average rate for FY22 is $38.61. That will go up to the average account will be $59.74, and then it will gradually go up from there. You'll notice though, again, that average will go up about, the average home will go up about $21 a month. But the annual increase after that, it actually, when I say this, I'm not minimizing the effect of this, will only go up another $6 between this first initial shock and 2027. And why is that a big thing? We're in the middle. We're in the construction already. We're bonded to pay for these improvements, and we're way too far down the road not to be able to meet to meet our water quality limitations. And so that's what we're up against now. So what are the benefits? So I want to focus on that a little bit, because we can look at the negative or we can look at the benefit. So Central Valley's flows in the dry winter or dry months of the year, which could be winter and summer as well, depending on what's happening. But we discharge about 50 million gallons a day from the treatment plant, which accounts for 60% of those dry months of the Jordan River. So if you can imagine that amount of water, we're 60% of it downstream of our treatment plant. So that's a lot of water. What does it mean? Because we're meeting these, because with these changes that we're making, these discharge requirements, we'll remove hundreds of thousands of pounds of phosphorus, nitrogen, and ammonia that's going into the river right now. It's a much more sustainable treatment capable plant as well, because we won't have to, because it's a biological nutrient removal system, which means that we're using biologic means to to break down the wastewater and to put that through the system. It's much more sustainable, and it can be expanded in the future, and it can be modified much cheaper than what we currently have. It'll improve the water quality for the plant life along the river, but it'll also improve the habitat for aquatic life and also the migratory birds, because this water goes into the wetlands and to the lake specifically. And as part of this, you're seeing a lot more recreation being asked to be done on the Jordan River. So this also benefits the recreation activities that can go into the river. But part of the things that are taking place as well, we're taking the opportunity as well with making all of these changes to bring it up to be able to be earthquake resilient. So let me show you. This is the treatment plant, and it's a pretty big footprint. So if you're familiar with 33rd South and about 9th West, where Golf the Round is, the plant is east of 9th West and north of Golf the Round, or 33rd South. So it encompasses quite a few acres there, and this is the old treatment facility. I have a video here, but it might be a little long, so let's just jump to this. So there's a lot of construction that's happening, and it's hard to see where it is because the drone is shooting from the south, looking north. But to the right side, there's still some deconstruction that needs to happen as we go forward, but they're still using the trickling filters that are on the far right. Those are still being used to meet the water quality standards that we're under right now. But you can see the amount of construction, and again, the plant is being repurposed the best we can going forward. We know it's a big hit. We've looked at all the possibilities that we could. We've been working with Justin Zollinger at Central Valley to work out a lot of these questions and details. We're tightening up our system so that we can reduce our flows, which reduces our costs. But there's not a whole lot you can do when you add 30 to 35% to the overall cost of the treatment plant, where we're about 8 to 9% of the cost, the total cost coming. So, if you have questions, we'd love to try to answer those for you.
I just want to start by saying, like, obviously none of us want to raise our resident rates or our own rates, right? Like that's not something anyone's excited about. But I appreciate you touched on the environmental benefits. We didn't have any control over the state regulation that was passed, but that I think that was nice, just pointing out what that does for the environment in the long run. I just want to make sure I'm clear on a couple points.
Sure.
So the state passed the new regulation requirement that we remove phosphorus and nitrogen from wastewater. Like, that started this whole thing. Is that?
That's correct.
That's accurate. And then from there, we've been operating under a variance, which expires. So we've been given a pass for a hot minute. We had a couple years. We've got to get in compliance.
That's right.
And then during trying to get our infrastructure updated, COVID hit, construction costs skyrocketed.
Right.
And then so from there, we really find ourselves where we have to make the improvements to meet state law, and we're responsible to pay for those improvements that we've already bonded with.
That's correct.
So that's where we're at. And it feels
yeah, you summed it up well.
Like a huge bummer.
Yes.
And it's upsetting and it's frustrating, but those are kind of our core pieces.
Right.
Okay. I'll open it to questions. I just want to make sure I had my notes clear. Go ahead.
I'll go. And I emailed you these questions that I was getting from residents that they're really concerned. I'm going to put this down. Sometimes it's like the reflection in my eye. About low income, our low income residents and how this could affect them potentially. And I got the answers back, but I did. So the first question I had is, what is available to low-income residents? And I know that's the HEAT program, correct? And with HEAT, it would cover any of our utilities. So if you are meeting a threshold, there is this fun graph on the HEAT website, what you would have to meet to qualify. And my husband was laid off during COVID, so we had to use the HEAT program. It is a little lengthy, and I know it's not what we all want to do, but unfortunately, it is available. So that is something that I wanted to say. Where's my next question? But I guess this is it's a Brenda question. I'm not sure. If we can maybe give a little bit more information about the HEAT program and our utilities, if that's something that we can add.
So this is what happens in customer service. Once a year, we do include a flyer in all of our bills, and that we have now arranged so that people who are getting email bills do get a monthly email from us that will include the flyers. And then whenever anyone is having trouble paying their bill, we refer them to HEAT and to rental assistance. It's an automatic. If that's what I hear at least 3 or 4 times a day, them say, "Have you contacted HEAT yet?" And just call them, make sure you get an emergency appointment or whatever. So we're always promoting those programs. I did ask customer service about the number of residences that are using HEAT. We don't have any way to track it. They only think there's 1 or 2. There's not very many. Most of the HEAT actually goes for electrical in apartments.
Okay. Well, and I know you included in the response to my email that it affects usually the apartments, and they get a shut-off notice. On that shut-off notice, is there contact information to the HEAT program? Okay.
Yep.
That was my next question to that. And HEAT program can take a few days to apply before the funds are actually allocated. So if you are finding yourself in a situation that you need to use it, give yourself about a week before.
And we do delay shutoffs and do various work with people that have gotten appointments and they know we have an appointment. And we do work with people.
There was a concern of that the HEAT, that I guess wastewater doesn't qualify under HEAT, but because
the arrangement we have with the HEAT program is that they just send an amount and we apply it to all utilities equally. However the utilities are, that's what it gets applied to.
Okay. And then let's see. Now, can we move funds to meet the threshold so we're not having to increase? Or do you want to talk a little bit about ARPA?
So we did decide to use $1 million of our ARPA funds for projects within the wastewater fund that qualify under ARPA, which is basically the relinings of our pipes and the projects that they already have scheduled, pretty much anything but equipment that they're working on. So that has helped. That kept this a little smaller to start. Eventually, the ARPA money is one-time money, so we do need to raise the rates to keep it going. And $1 million was a good way to keep them out of a deficit cash basis for right now and allow this rate increase to start, and we'll have a little buffer of cash as we start to pay the higher bond payments that are due to Central Valley Water.
And then I think this may be my last question, but I'll revisit that in a second. Does the first bump need to be that high in terms of the rates, the first threshold?
Because I'm raising my rates too. And granted, I am not low income, but we started low, running it through a model, and worked our way up.
We need to make sure we match our bond covenants. That is a serious thing if we don't. We need to make sure we have some cash flow in there. And we need to be able to make sure that we can pay what Central Valley needs when they need it. The last thing we want, and we need to make sure that we can work on our system too.
Right.
We have to rebuild our system. We don't want to put off maintenance because if something breaks, you don't want it.
And you mean our system with our infrastructure for sewer,
yeah,
right?
The piping and the relining of the pipes and making sure we get the tree roots out and all of that stuff. We do not want to wait and postpone anything because when a disaster happens, it's bad. And we don't want we don't want that. We're just wanting to flow right to that plant.
Do we have kind of an estimate of how many of projects we need to re-insulate? Do we have to re-insulate all of them because of the phosphorus? Or
they have a list
Okay.
and a master plan and things that they're working on, and they're all included in this model of when they need to get done. And hopefully, prices will settle, and we won't be back here in 7 years or 5 years. Hopefully, it will just maintain.
And can you talk a little bit about the bond? I know we talked about the amount the bond. Is it Central Valley that has the bond?
Central Valley is doing all the bonding.
And how
for
much
the
is
Central
that
Valley.
bond? Do we know? I mean,
You're looking at $370 million by the time they're done.
okay, but we have to pay into that.
We're about
10%?
8% right now.
Right, okay. All right. That's kind of, I just wanted a point of clarification of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also, when I was talking with you, Brenda, you mentioned that other cities are paying more because they're growing faster than Murray is.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Part of how we pay Central Valley is based on the flow and various other scientific things that I don't get. But basically, they meter everything that's going into the plant.
Yeah.
And then they allocate the cost based on who uses it more or who uses it less. And because we're not growing as fast as other areas, yes, we think we're growing really fast, but we're not growing nearly as fast as some of the other cities. Our flow rate's going down, theirs is going up, the percentage. And so our costs will decline, but it's not going to decline enough to help this. But our costs are.
And I know you already mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. Can you mention to the public what other 6 cities besides us that are involved in this project? Isn't it like I just want the public to know that we're just not doing this all by ourselves, that there are other cities, and could you mention those names?
Yeah, so there out of the 7 entities, there are 2 cities, Murray City being one of them and South Salt Lake City being the other.
Okay.
The rest of them are Mount Olympus Improvement District that's on the east of us, Cottonwood Sewer, which is also on the east of us, and both of those go all the way into the canyons. And then when we start coming past us, we're looking at Taylorsville Benyon Improvement District, which is most of Taylorsville City. Granger Hunter, which is all of West Valley City and part of Taylorsville, Kearns Improvement District, and I think we got them all.
I think that was because I couldn't remember the ones back over here, but I remembered everyone west of us, and I just couldn't remember the other ones.
They
But
have
thank
different
you.
names, but
Yeah.
like Kearns goes all the way to the mountains on the west side of us.
But Magna's not.
Magna's not part of it. Magna has their own treatment plant.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Right.
As we're talking about this, and there was a mention about infrastructure, and I know that a lot of that has to do with the plant, but I know they mentioned new piping and that sort of thing. Is there discussion around repurposing that wastewater to water like park strips and public spaces and that sort of thing, like a lot of other cities, say in California, do, where they reclaim their water and clean it and then repurpose it on lawn rather than continuing to use culinary water?
Yeah, we've investigated that quite a bit, quite extensively at the treatment plant. The water laws in the state of Utah are a little bit different than other states. It makes it a little bit more difficult. You actually have to own the water rights, which Murray owns quite a bit of water right. But then we have to bring the water back from there. So it's a big cost to bring it back and to pump it and to put it back in. So it's not that we haven't thought about that, but the cost of developing that hasn't overcome what we're doing.
I just wasn't sure if we're replacing piping and that sort of thing already when you already have stuff torn up. If you're laying another pipe down, if that makes sense from that perspective.
No, and in fact, we completed a master plan of our system a few years ago, and in that master plan, we laid out all of our main projects that need to be completed, and we guessed. We did our best at guessing where the developments would occur, and modeled those into our system. And our guesses have been pretty dang good. So, but the costs weren't that good. So, we do have a project for a pipelining project that's a pretty good sized project. We'll be lining how many miles?
About 6,500 feet.
So a little over a mile and a half of sewer pipe, which will help to tighten up our system and keep groundwater from coming into the system, which helps our flow numbers go lower at the treatment plant as well. So that's when I talk about what we're trying to do, that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to maintain our system so that we minimize where we can the costs associated with Central Valley.
I know this is a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Can you give us an estimate what our bill is going to look like when we get it in 2 months or next month or whatever? I mean, I was doing the math and I'm going, did mine raise up 50, 60?
So I'm just going to give you what the average is. So down at the very bottom of this, it gives you the average. Right now, our average is 38.61.
Okay.
So when this first initial increase happens, that will go to 59.74.
Okay.
So about $21.
That's what I thought. And I'm going, but my math wasn't.
And many of the entities, so we back in 2017, actually 2016, we were going through looking at these costs associated with it and what are we going to do with our rates, because we knew we couldn't afford the whole thing without increasing rates then. Many of the other entities that chose to immediately institute a $5 fee going forward at that point. Murray chose a different pathway, is to raise incrementally the rates and we were actually doing really good with that plan until the costs escalated to this point over the last couple of years. And we didn't foresee that, and no one else has either. So that's been an unfortunate part of it, but many of the other entities are not in near as the dire straits as we are, but they are looking at raising their rates as well, because they're not going to be able to meet the demands on them. So South Salt Lake is very much in our court. They're looking at a significant increase as well.
I'm glad the mayor wore yellow tonight. We're going to have a new rule in the Harekesi household, the yellow mellow rule. That's going to be just so we can help out the Murray sewer rates in the future. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, you could also do your park strip too.
That's already done.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah.
Quick.
We love that.
Just I forgot to mention this, but we've talked about it offline. But this isn't something that, like, in terms of funding, we are looking at other ways to help fund this in the future if we can.
Yes.
If there's something that comes up, we can throw a little money to this account so we can see that, or even, and maybe this is a Brenda question. I mean, if we find that we're not using all our ARPA funding, could we use more ARPA funding? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I'm sure that's a possibility, because that water and wastewater things are right at the top of the list of things that ARPA can be used for. So to answer that, I'd say yes, we could. But I think the other thing is to understand that that we may not have all the control of this, but there's additional ARPA funds at the state. And I think in your legislative update in the committee of the whole, you mentioned a little bit about the hot button with water and secondary water. Is that more important than sewer? And I'm telling you right now, it is. It gets all of the attention. The wastewater is underground, it's out of sight, it's out of mind, it goes down the toilet and disappears and nobody thinks about it. But we're, I won't say it, but.
I hear you. I mean, it,
but I
it
think
is
you're getting my
frustrating.
point.
I mean, we definitely need, I think as an old city, we need to update our infrastructure. And unfortunately, this is the growing pains of that. That was already existing. It's not even that we're growing to say, hey, we need to be able to give new infrastructure to new buildings or new apartments. But it's something that I think we all kind of knew that we were going to face sooner or later with our old infrastructure. And now it's time. And now we have to update it anyways.
Yeah.
And we are forced to do it. So thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for answering all those questions.
Sure,
And
thank you.
Did you have another question? No. Okay. So before we open it up for public hearing, I just want to say we're laughing and joking a little bit up here, but all of us are absolutely torn up about $21 per month burdening our residents. And this, for me personally, it's a laugh or cry situation. So I just want to say that the severity of it and the impact on the residents is not lost. This is a public hearing, so we will open it up to public comment, 3 minutes per person. You'll state your name. If someone can pass the microphone back to the podium for us so it's there for them, thank you. And watch for Jennifer for the timer if you speak, and then she'll have a form for you, but we'll open that up now.
So I see the tough spot that everyone's in, and that is a big increase. But I had a few thoughts that if the increase happened after people got their tax return, when they're feeling a little more flush, maybe it wouldn't feel like it stings so bad. Also, last fall during campaign season, I heard several people mention that there's going to be other tax increases in Murray probably coming, pending. And if they were to be able to be done at the same time, maybe it wouldn't feel like Murray raised their taxes and fees twice. So if you could do that in conjunction, maybe, rip off the Band-Aid, or I don't know, combine it. Third thought is, as Rosalba was saying, it would impact those of lower income, maybe families harder. If the base rate, it looks like that goes up about $15 per person, would it make sense to maybe striate that a bit and have those with bigger properties that pay a little more on the base rate, and maybe have it be a little less for those who live in multi-family dwellings and apartments and such? Because honestly, as a single family homeowner, if my rate goes up $25 versus $21, in my mind, that's about the same. And so, maybe that could ease the burden on those who are lower income.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak at this time? All right, I'm not seeing anyone. So with that, I will close this public hearing and ask if anyone else has discussion or questions.
When will thank you, Kat. When will this go into effect officially? When will ratepayers start seeing it? And I'm assuming it's also a percentage of whatever their use is, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, everything's based on what you use. And Murray City chose that system long time ago because they wanted to make sure, an old couple in a home, they're going to use less than a family. So, but that said, this will be the first billing in April.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for all of the information that you've shared. With that, I'd be open to a motion.
I would like to make a motion on ordinance amending section 13.32.060 of the Murray City Municipal Code to increase the sewer service charge and to enact a Central Valley water reclamation fee.
I second.
Thank you. Brooke?
Aye.
Aye.
Regrettably, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And thank you, Danny and team. We appreciate you for bringing us such terrible news on this beautiful evening. All right. We have a business item. Let's cheer up. This is consider.
Let's all
It's
turn
rough
and
to
look at
follow.
Brett.
Sorry,
Let's
Joey.
look at Brett in his bright yellow shirt.
Consider a resolution providing advice and consent to the mayor's appointment of Joseph B. Middleman II as the city's fire chief. Mayor. Is that real?
There we go. I mean, really, look at him.
I'm sorry.
His name's Joey. He looks like he's around 20. He's 52, which surprised me. I'm kidding you. I'm kidding you. He's young. Anyway, you don't have to stand back. Distancing. So I get it. Okay. Yeah, all right. Okay. Well, all right. Yeah. And he's a comedian too. We were over at and welcome, Chief Harris. Did you know he was here?
Yeah,
He snuck in, but he's kind of rowdy because it was kind of reverent, and then all of a sudden Johnny walked in, and all of a sudden Tammy started acting up, and
Just to be clear, I brought in kisses to department head today, and then I left my kisses back there because I was going to say it's nothing like on a first date than to bring kisses to the date. But yet I think he ate them already. I don't know, but...
Yeah, Joey came in our department head, and he looked at me, and he goes, "Would you like a kiss?" And I looked at him, and I thought, what the heck? But I took a kiss, chocolate kiss. So anyway, yeah, no, there you go.
GL, we're paying attention. We just had training here.
I thank you for
GL.
that. I appreciate that. You're protecting me. So anyway, we're excited to be here. This is a great honor. We had the opportunity to listen to Chief Harris was it Friday? When was that? Friday? Boy, it seems like it does, doesn't it? And anyway, it was a great opportunity to hear from Chief Harris and also from Chief Middleman, and just great people. We have a great fire department, and it's a great thing for our city, for Murray City, for many years. So, without further ado, now, Joe, you've been with us 17 years, correct?
Yep.
17 years, and you were with South Salt Lake 4 years. So, really, he's been doing this since he was a kid. You really started right out of
12 years old.
12 years old. All right. Do you have family here?
I didn't bring my family
I know.
tonight because we're not necessarily doing the swearing in, but
When we do that, we'll see him. Yeah.
yeah, and I noticed it was a little bit of a long council meeting, so we want to invite you guys, if approved, to a swearing in ceremony that would be a little bit more welcoming and where you guys can.
Yeah, because usually when Joey's here, it takes the whole council chamber up with his family. So anyway, so I looked around, I didn't see anybody. But anyway, we're excited for this. You're going to do a great job. And when we interviewed Joey, it was a no-brainer. He is a great young man and a stellar of a guy, and just really has a lot of respect from the employees that he works with, and from us. So we would ask that the council consider a resolution providing advice and consent to the consent of the mayor's office, Joseph B. Middleman II, as the city's fire chief.
I will make a motion to adopt the resolution providing advice and consent to the mayor's appointment of Joseph B. Middleman II as the city's fire chief.
I will second that.
Brooke?
Aye.
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 All right.
Have you seen his resume?
Yeah, I have
My
seen it. It
word,
took me
that's
about 5
amazing.
days to read. So yes, I have seen it. So
It was in crayon, that's why.
anyway, big applause for Joey. then.
Amazing.
I'm going to ask Joey to say something real quick.
Yay.
Well, I do apologize for not having my family here. We looked and we had talked with the mayor's office about considering doing maybe my swearing in, which is more of a ceremonial thing at the fire station. And that's where we've been doing a lot of our recent swearing in since COVID. And so we felt that to be an appropriate thing if that was okay with you guys. And then we would welcome you guys out as well. I actually would like to also propose the idea for us to complete. We have a lot of new cadre coming into administration, and we could maybe spare your guys' time and complete that all at once somewhere in around the third week of May. Or sorry, not May. I said May, but March. And we would work with Jennifer and Tammy to make that happen for that, if that's okay.
I was going to say, I think a lot of us are going to be in DC the third week.
Oh, we'll figure out
We'll figure
in
it
the
out.
fourth
I
week
just wanna-
sometime. Yeah.
We want to be here.
Yeah. So other than that, I would just like to say thank you to you guys for you guys' trust and honor. It is truly an honor to represent the fire department, as Chief Harris has said, at his retirement, as well as now if he was up here. And all of the progenitors that have come before him that have represented the fire department. Just today, as I was sitting in the back, our firefighters rescued a horse out of water with Unified Fire. It's now, I've posted it on social media, and how cool it is to be associated with those folks. And then such good folks like Jeff Poles, and he's one of our newly promoted, he's our deputy fire marshal, and he's learning and hanging out, learning what DAYS is all about. So what great people I have, so thank you very much. And I look forward to the opportunity to work with you guys closer, and as well as the mayor's office. So thank you. You guys didn't have any questions for me, did you?
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
Not this time.
All right. Mayor, your report. What would you like to share?
Well, I'd like to take about a half hour if I could here, and I'm kidding. My goodness, it's 8:15. Okay, the only thing I had was I just wanted to thank everyone who came out to the beam ceremony, which I had no idea what that meant, placing the last beam on our city hall. And Kat, you did a phenomenal job, honestly. When you got up, I told Jennifer, I said, she's a natural. You did great. And just thanks for the council's support. It was, and all the employees and our citizens, it was a pretty cool thing to experience. And I'd never experienced anything like that. And so it was neat. Anyway, we're excited for that, for next year, hopefully April, May, somewhere around there. Doug said March. I always had a couple months when Doug tells me something. So just a couple months. And I think he's going to be more accurate. But anyway, that's it. Thank you for your support. We appreciate you guys.
All right. Then we will adjourn this meeting. Have a good one.